Hello and welcome to this episode of Not Just Ghost Stories. I'm your host Josh, joined by Jackie and Laura. We are a small team of experienced paranormal investigators, and here we discuss different locations that we've investigated, along with a little history and the paranormal evidence that we found. Today, we'll be talking about, to me, a place that was pretty cool. It's called Auglaize Village in Defiance, Ohio. Overall, it's a nice little piece of property, things that they have brought in. But Jackie, could you tell us some history and what they got there?
Sure can. In 1966, the Defiance City Historical Society received 40 acres of land with a big red barn on it from the Mansfield family. Later on, an additional 80 acres was purchased. In 1975, the Historical Society turned it over to the people of the county, hoping they would be able to get more financial aid. The Historical Society does operate the Auglaize Village complex, and they're always looking for volunteers in case you want something to do. The land known as the Glaize, where Defiance now sit, was an old buffalo wallow on the Maumee River at the mouth of the Auglaize River. It was mainly a hunting ground for the Ottawa. Around the Revolutionary War, French and English traders built a fort there. Around the fort, 7 Indian villages sprang up. Most were Shawnee, Delaware, and Miami. During the Revolutionary War, it became a British strongpoint for halting the westward expansion of America. After the Battle of Fallen Timbers, where everything was destroyed, the Glaize ceased to be a vital community. Now Auglaize Village is a collection of historical buildings, allowing visitors a glimpse into the past. There are 5 museums on the site: Mansfield Museums, William Bensinger Military Museum. The building is a CCP project and housed POWs. Charles E. Slocum National History Museum, another CCP and POW barracks. Justin Coruscant Farm Museum 1, and Railroad Museum that houses the toy trains. It also has a schoolhouse, a post office, a church, doctor's office, and a train depot. All of these are from the mid-1800s. The rest of the buildings are a Rotary office, church bell tower, Pioneer Cemetery, Minstrel Barber Shop, Jacob Myers General Store, a blacksmith, a cane mill, Kiefer Cabin, Ayersville Telephone Company, Vaughn Lockkeeper's House, Kinner Cabin, and the Corley's Engine and Compressor. Also, some apple trees on site are descendants of ones planted by Johnny Appleseeds. And these buildings have all been brought from different places. They didn't all spring up on this property.
And as what I was about to say, this place is actually pretty cool. When you first drive up to it, they have it gated, but they literally have it set up like a little village. It's a little road that goes through to each and every single building. They have it all labeled. You can walk into most of the buildings. Some of the buildings are too small for just one person to kind of walk into.
Yeah.
But it is in a really, really cool village. It was one of the first things that I noticed. I was kind of looking around going, this is pretty awesome. Like this is someplace I would bring my kids just to kind of walk around and let them, research things.
And that is actually what it's open for.
Yeah. So what was your guys' first impressions overall?
I think it's a very pretty place. They're not all originally from there, but they still flow together really well. If you sit and look at it, you can almost see people, in old-timey clothes just walking through. For me, I have to say probably the one I enjoyed looking at the most, though, was really the telephone company. They still had all the original stuff in there.
Yeah.
I found it fascinating.
There was actually 4 of us on this investigation. Tina was on the investigation with us that time too. So because of that, it was basically me and Laura. We're kind of walking around, Jackie, you and Tina, and then we would all kind of meet up, do some stuff, and then we'd split back off and kind of do some other things, because it is a large piece of property to investigate. There's a lot there to go through. So if you stayed together as a group, you probably wouldn't get to all of it. You really wouldn't. So we kind of had to venture.
And the places are small.
Yeah.
So 4 people in one place, you might have been overstepping each other.
Yeah, so I think, Laura, you and I decided that we were going to kind of start toward the back of the property and work our way forward on some stuff. They had an old cabin set up there. I think we had gone into. We didn't really get a whole lot out of that. Jackie, you did, though.
Yeah, I did. When Tina and I went in, she stayed downstairs and I walked upstairs. And I got halfway upstairs and went, I don't know if I want to go up further. I got up far enough to see if there was anything living upstairs, and they had it set up like a bedroom, but the feeling was very get out. So I got out.
Do you remember anything out of that?
I walked in there. I didn't exactly feel what Jackie did. But from what she described, I would almost imagine it just being the cantankerous old man that lived there when he was living. He was probably just cantankerous.
Yeah, you had to step on the stairs. Once you stepped on the stairs, you got the feeling that it wasn't welcoming upstairs.
And some things I skipped because, again, it's a big place.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of steps, not necessarily up and down, but it's a lot of walking.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons why we also split up. We don't, when we go on a ghost hunt, we know enough not to go alone. Sometimes we do, but we know enough not to do that. And it's just that we are drawn to different places. I was drawn to the church, and Tina was drawn to the church. We spent a lot of time in the church. You guys spent like the schoolhouse. I walked into the schoolhouse, set up the dandy, and really went back to check on it once or twice. And the schoolhouse just didn't do it for me and stuff. So,
Well, one of my favorite places was the war POW camp and stuff, and they housed German POWs. And me and Laura walking through there, we were getting some really weird feelings, having some minor stuff happen. It was really cool to look at all the different memorabilia they had in there. And for some reason, I said, "What if I get out Google Translate and try to get German, to translate whatever we're saying?" Me and Laura, we tried it and started getting all kinds of hits.
Yeah, there's a lot of big feelings in that building.
Yeah.
But somebody in there was definitely speaking, but it wasn't anything I could translate for you.
Yeah, they were actually speaking German, so I would say what I wanted to say, would translate it into German. We started getting hits on REMPod. We started getting hits on K2. We were just getting hits on all kinds of stuff inside there. And we were actually able, I don't know exactly what they were saying because I actually got some EVPs, but I could never make out what it was saying because they were talking in German. But it was actually a pretty cool thing to go through and really learn that this was actually happening there. Somebody was stuck there, and for them to be so far away from their homeland at the same time was kind of heart-wrenching. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it definitely is. I believe a piece of them is stuck either, I don't know, with that building, with it being just a POW building, or if it's necessarily different pieces they have in there. There's a lot of things going on in there, and they're not all necessarily pleasant, but war is pleasant. So,
What about, Jackie? Did you go inside that war museum?
I did.
What'd you think?
I didn't get anything.
Yeah. And it's crazy to think of, like, you and I, Laura, were getting some pretty cool stuff, and Jackie, you didn't get anything inside there.
Nope.
Whereas the church for you was a hotspot for you.
Well, I didn't get anything out of the church, but I knew there was something there. It just wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah. And I can remember not getting anything. Like, I just didn't feel that there was anything inside that church. Laura?
oh, I think there was something in that church because it made me do. No, it didn't make me do. That's not how I want to say it. Let's see. How do I want to say it? It made me want to be like goof off in that church. And at that moment in time, that's not something I would have ever done. So there's something in there.
However, Jackie did.
Jackie did, yes.
It did play with the dowsing pendulum. And when I say play with it, it moved it, but it wasn't answering any questions or anything. And then I think it grabbed it out of my hand.
Yeah. And then for some reason you started giving a sermon.
Well, because I wanted to, we don't provoke, but maybe in the church I did. Although I did give a very good sermon, I thought, but maybe not on a Christian point of view, but,
I mean, definitely whatever's in there causes, I don't know if it's just because it's right outside of what is there, and it just makes you want to draw it out. But yeah, provoke. I would say for us to never provoke, that was one of the times it was, I I was like, ooh, I had to tell myself we don't do that because I really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I thought was going to happen, but
Now, Laura, what about you? Do you have a particular favorite building that you had there at Auglaize?
um, well, I mean the POW that's very active, but I wouldn't say that it was a favorite because I just don't like the feelings that are trapped in there. If someone's heart is broken, like I guess I feel that, and so
Okay.
it was uncomfortable for me. I mean, but it's very active,
I'm not asking about active. I'm asking, did you have one that was a favorite though?
like that I just liked.
Out
Yeah.
of all of them,
Yeah,
other than the phone company, I'm talking about where, like another one I can remember would be the train depot.
Yeah, you guys spent a lot of time in
We
there.
spent a lot of time in the train depot because it was all shadow figure movement. We weren't getting a lot on K2. We weren't getting a lot on really anything except for laser grid. We were getting a lot of really cool shadow movement across the laser grid. Something that just kept moving. We actually ended up separating to each side of the train depot because things were moving between it on both sides. There was like a little office in the middle. So, Laura, what was your favorite building as far as paranormal at Auglaize Village?
train station. I kept wanting to go back in there because of all those shadows.
The train station was very interesting. It as far as equipment inside there, mostly the only thing that we could really use or we're getting some type of activity from was the laser grid. It had some really cool stuff happening, but the train depot we actually separated inside there because it was like an office in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and there was stuff happening inside that office, and then there was like a waiting area on each side. So we were kind of separating or even waiting in the office, seeing if something would contact with us, but we didn't really have a whole lot happen in there as far as REM pods or, K2s or anything else like that, right?
No, it was strictly just the shadows. No voices. No.
But it was really crazy how those shadows were just running back and forth all over the place there. It was pretty fun to watch.
I have to go with it was residual because I mean it was pretty steady,
Yeah.
like a train
It was
station would be.
Yeah, it was a train depot.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it's like. It still is if you're able to see that residual plane, or at least that's the plane I believe we were seeing.
Now, we did have one thing happen to all four of us all at the same time, and it was supposed to be in a place that was newer to the property, and it was what they considered a neutral area. But all four of us, we were, I think, having some dinner. We are taking a break or having some dinner, right, Jackie?
Yes, they deliver pizza out there.
Yeah, I started to say pizza.
Pizza. While we were sitting there, there was a large crash in one of the back rooms that was kind of away from us. And we went back there and started investigating and found something that had, I can't remember what it was. Something had fallen that shouldn't have fell the way it was setting. We had set it back up there. It wasn't a picture or nothing. It was like a piece of equipment that they had from somewhere, wasn't it?
It was something. I don't remember what, but yeah, it made a huge crash.
So
Don't ask me what it was, but I just remember the crash because we've talked about it multiple times.
yeah, and it was actually pretty cool because inside of that area, we didn't have a whole lot happen. We did set it back up. I think while we were out, it did fall one more time, but we didn't hear it, and we put it back up, and it was pretty cool to see overall. But what's your all's overall takeaway from Auglaize Village? I mean, to me, it was a really safe, easy, fun ghost hunt. What about you?
Yeah, it was, like I say, the up in the cabin was a unwelcoming feeling. And Tina and I started out to the cemetery, which was not quite a ways away, but through the woods and stuff. And we didn't get too far. And I thought, nah, that was partly because it just didn't feel good out there, and partly because the bugs were bugging us.
Yeah.
I really believe, I have to say that while we were there, we didn't really investigate the land per se. It was mostly the buildings. Since then, some experiences we've had since that time at other locations. I wish we would have spent some time just with the land itself.
Well, actually, I don't think we get much off the land because I did not know it till I did the history. That was Shawnee territory, and nobody threatened to kill Josh that entire night.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It might have been that at that time there might not have been anything there. Who knows? I mean, it might have just been, if it was Shawnee territory, you can't say it was a camp or anything that was happening on that property.
Right. And it
though.
was also other, mainly Ottawa, which we never had a problem with the Ottawa. So,
No. I mean, there's times right now everything seems good on that end with me. So, but there was times throughout different things. All of a sudden, things would start to affect, and who knows why or what or whatever reason. But Auglaize, I can tell you, I didn't have any issues whatsoever there myself. I thought that the property was cool overall, just to see the different buildings.
It is neat, and they made everything miniature sized. Like for instance, so the telephone company that was there, I thought all that equipment was super interesting. My tallest child wouldn't fit in there. Like
Yeah.
literally wouldn't fit in there.
Yeah.
If
Well-
he'd been over, I think he'd just be stuck there.
I remember they had a little barber shop, and you could, kind of walk into it, but it was literally a chair and
And the chairs are teeny, like
yeah.
you know, I mean they'll hold you, but everything is just so much
It's
smaller.
not something that you see on the Andy Griffith show at Mayberry where all these guys were just sitting around. There wasn't enough room in that little barber shop for that. It was just enough to hold one person, give them a haircut, and get them out.
but remember, most of the buildings were set up like the 1800s, where I think we were shorter back then, and also
Well, we just didn't do extravagance either.
yeah.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, this chair has to massage you while you get your nails done. It was
It
just
was
a chair.
It was necessity.
Yeah.
That's all I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we hadn't discovered China yet, so we had doing our own labor. So
Smaller is faster.
But every single building, I'm trying to think if there was another building that was really, really interesting paranormal wise. To me, those were like the top ones, the museum, the depot. We had stuff happen in the schoolhouse.
I was gonna say this schoolhouse. We didn't spend enough time there because I think my attention was diverted to the shadows. Mentioned that this was one of the earlier ghost hunts, so
Yeah.
every experience was like so new to me. So it was like shadows. No, I'm going to sit here all night and look at them. So I missed out on a lot of things, but I do believe that there is a spirit in the schoolhouse. I don't even know if it's a child or it would have been a teacher, but there is presence in there. And
but again, you and I felt something in there, but Jackie didn't feel anything at all.
just like she did in the cabin, but I didn't. So for that place, it's, I don't know, maybe it's because each building is literally, the activity is on a different plane because they're not from the same place. I don't know. So just maybe what I have access to, Jackie doesn't, and vice versa.
Well, and one thing we do know is whenever you leave Auglaize Village, if it is nighttime, make sure you turn on your headlights because Defiance police will pull you over.
They do not understand why you driving around in a vehicle with no lights.
I was just lucky he didn't make us walk a straight line because we were all laughing. It's 2 a.m. driving without light. We had parking lights on.
And we told him that we were just leaving a ghost hunt, so he probably thought we were nuts anyway.
He really did. And remember, he looked in the back, and it was like, well, obviously we were doing something. We'll have to take a picture sometime so you guys can see it. There ain't no room in the Jeep. Once it's all in there, it's in there.
Sometimes we have to use the rooftop carrier.
So it was obvious we weren't lying about having been doing something that didn't make any sense to him. He was cool about it, though.
Yeah.
I do want to say that this place is great for a ghost hunt, but also I believe it's open for tours, and you just take your family there, wander around. I don't know how much it is or anything, but
actually, as far as seeing the old pieces, daytime would be better because they're not replicas. They're genuine pieces that have luckily been saved over all this time.
Yeah. And like Auglaize Village, all of those buildings, the cool thing about it, were actually brought in from different areas and made a village in order to preserve history. And that's one of the things I love about it. And a lot of these places that we do, they're about preserving the history of the building. Not just about the ghost hunts, but preserving the history. And that's one of the things I love about Auglaize, because they're preserving that history. They're making sure that everything is known as far as what was going on in the 1800s during that time, how things were happening. And even the War Museum, where they had different pieces from, I think, World War I and II inside of there. So it was pretty cool to see overall there too.
And who would have thought there's German POWs in Ohio? That building did not come on that property, but it came from Ohio.
Yeah.
And we had POWs during World War I and World War II, and things you don't learn in history, but you learn in ghost hunting.
Yeah, but I think that they said that it was up near one of the Great Lakes,
Yeah.
right? And it was actually brought in through like Hudson and brought into the Great Lakes area in order to keep them there at the POW camp. So it was kind of pretty cool to see overall.
It's fascinating history. Sometimes I wonder, when we do places like this that have brought all these together, like say in 500 years, what of our time will they be trying to preserve? Or will anything that we did be worth preserving?
Yeah.
I'm sure our microphones we use for our wonderful podcast will be in a museum somewhere.
Our microphones and our
That's
headphones here.
true.
And yeah, I'll be haunting them.
If you do see any of our stuff later in a few hundred years, come find where we're buried and tell us.
Oh, you don't have to come find it. I'll be haunting it. So just go ahead and say it.
Well, any last words about Auglaize Village before we close out today's show?
No, it was a fun ghost hunt. Got a lot of exercise. Got a lot of different types of spirits, and
Yeah.
That's what I was going to go with. It's a good crash course place because there's different types.
Yeah, nothing. I
would walk through all those by myself in the dark.
Yeah, the cantankerous old man, yeah, I don't think he's going to do anything. I think he's just yelling at you, "This is my house, get out." But everything else in there, there's nothing there that's going to hurt you. Nothing will possess you. Nothing evil or demonic or anything like that. It was just fun.
Or as of the time we were there.
Yeah. It was fun to go through. I would recommend anybody take, their family just to walk through it and really see everything. And daylight, nighttime, it doesn't matter. It's fun either way.
yeah. And we told you about the buildings. We did not touch upon the stuff that's in the buildings and things, but there's a whole bunch of memorabilia and different old time stuff within these buildings.
Yeah.
Oh, history lessons for days just in this one little, 40-acre spot.
Yeah, and you could literally take a couple days going through everything. Well, with that, this has been Not Just Ghost Stories. We've been your host, Josh.
Laura?
And Jackie.
Until next time, you can find information and contact us on our website at notjustghoststories.com and see evidence that we've discussed on Facebook at Not Just Ghost Stories.